while an observer. And please excuse the noise in the background. We're having some people over, and I didn't invite them over. My roommates invited them over, but I know them too. They're friends. But I'm kind of in one of my moods where I don't want to be sociable with people. So it's Halloween. I got sick of gaming. I've done all the gaming that I can do for right now. Destiny 2 is kind of boring me right now. Call of Duty Warzone was kind of a disappointment with the Halloween um, theme. Scream is nice and I get it all, but for some reason it just wasn't. It didn't hit me in the right spot this year. Um, Now, Cold War, Call of Duty Cold War. If any of you know anything about me, I hate this version of Cold War, but it's been kind of fun lately. It, it's been kind of fun lately. But it's been kind of fun lately. It, it's been kind of fun lately. And it's Cold War. I still haven't even finished the campaign yet. I haven't finished the campaign. The campaign just doesn't do it for me. And I have various and sundry other games. I just got Back for Blood. I've been playing that for a little bit. I still got a lot to grind out for Tomb Raider. I still got to grind out some more Back for Blood. Still got to grind out some more games. I got to grind out, but that's neither here nor there. The reason why I'm here is because it's Halloween and I found a couple of scary stories on Reddit, and I thought, hey, why not? I've never been live before from my home. I know how to do it now. So I want to read some of these stories that I found, and I hope they're. I hope they hit that scary button of yours as I read them. So I'm sorry. I'm trying not to rub against everything, and microphone is in my device I have set up here. It's really trying not to rub against everything because I can hear it because the Yeti is good. What I need to know is, do you guys hear everything just fine? Happy Halloween, Cody. I am doing well. Thank you for joining. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and read this first story that I found. Nightmarish apartment. We moved to a new state for my job and got disappointment sight unseen. At first, we didn't feel or see anything unusual. As time went on, we started noticing a shadow move, or times I thought I kept seeing something move in the kitchen area. It didn't say anything at first to my wife because I didn't say anything at first to my wife because I didn't want to freak her out. One day I get a call from her at work that things on our shelf launched off. Then she asked if we've been seeing asked if I've been seeing anything weird. As time went on, we both started seeing these small shadows move around. We'd see drifting smoke in the apartment with no cause for it. My daughter would scream in the middle of the night or during the day about a ghost scaring her. My son would demand the lights on at all hours, especially in the kitchen. My wife started waking up in the middle of the night, seeing a shadow man standing in the doorway of our bedroom. Then our smoke detector started beeping in one room, stop, and then start in another room. We finally were able to move out. When I was there picking up boxes alone after work, I started hearing the beeping. So I walked around the corner to see a shadow man sitting on the edge of the couch, looking at me. It hurried up and got out of there. I returned it. I hurried up and got out of there. I returned the next day with my coworker to pick up the remaining boxes. And when I was leaving, I saw them again, a head peeking around the corner. My wife returned to do a final walkthrough and some last minute cleaning before turning in the keys. While she was there, a black figure stood in the doorway, pointing towards the door, and a bottle of cleaner launched off the counter. She was getting ready to leave all the she was getting ready to leave. As she was getting ready to leave, all of the smoke detectors in the apartment started going off, starting at the back of the apartment and moving towards the door. She locked the door. When she locked the door, they all stopped. Wow, that's insane to me. I mean, you ghosts, they have no respect. They have zero respect for you. It's like, dude, okay, so you don't want us here. You want to haunt this place. This is your domain. Fine. Let us know before we drop our money. I'll happily go somewhere else where you aren't, but they don't get it. They don't care, I suppose. Uh, let's see. There's more here. Now, while I look, I'm going to tell you guys something. I've had my own paranormal experiences. And looking back on my life, I'm 45 right now. I've had paranormal experiences since I was a kid. And at first, if you asked me if I ever seen a ghost, I would have been like, nah, I never seen a ghost. And I would have told you that ghosts aren't real. Um, that is something that I believe, but believed. But I do know that there is something out there, albeit not perfectly understood by us. So, I the other day I began to recap all the things, all the paranormal things that happened to me throughout my life, and I began to realize the list is quite long. For instance, if you've listened to watched any of my videos, or you've heard me talk about the disembodied voice of laughter. I was playing in my grandparents' room and in their bathroom. I don't know why, but I was there, and all of a sudden I heard this laughter that was like, I was a kid. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and this laughter was clearly at adult height, and it just started laughing. And I looked or turned around. I looked around, and there's nobody there. There is no reason I should have been hearing laughter directly behind me. And the windows in the bathroom and in the bedroom were closed. And you can tell if there's somebody outside laughing when the window is open. You can tell if there's somebody outside laughing when the window is closed. No, this laughter was coming directly behind me. Um, there was one time when I was a kid, I was asleep in my room, and you know how you wake up and you're half awake, half asleep. Well, that's where I was. I was half awake, half asleep. I was laying in my bed, and I was um, looking at the. I was just watching the ceiling, and the sun had just started to rise, and my room was getting brighter and brighter. And then all of a sudden, it was like a shadow crossed my room, a complete and dark shadow crossed my room. And when it happened, um, I, 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 I recognized it. And then it felt like something fell on me. I remember feeling the bed bounce, and it felt like something heavy fell on me. And I forgot about it, and I went back to sleep. And when I woke up for the day, I was sick. I was incredibly sick. I used to get migraines all the time, and I don't know if that thing caused it, but it's notable that I was totally fine the day before, and that morning I was fine until that shadow fell across my room, and this heavy thing just fell on me. Um, there's so many other things, and a lot of it, a lot of people have attempted to explain away. Um, I remember, well, we used to call it the hag ride you. We're from the South. What can I say? I was born and raised in South Carolina. Um, um, I would wake up in the middle of the night and can't move. And while I'm in that state, sometimes I would see things. Like I remember waking up in my room and there was just a whole bunch of people in my room. Some of them were flying around, just floating. Um, one lady was like at a filing cabinet, just pulling files out, pulling files out, pulling files out, pulling files out. And I saw them, and I couldn't. I tried to move, but I could not move. And all I could do was just lay there and watch them as I fight. And the thing about me, I don't give up when I'm in a situation like that. When I'm experiencing sleep paralysis, I don't give up. I always fight. I always fight to the bitter end. I never give into it. And finally, when I won and I was able to sit up and had control of my limbs, I opened my eyes and it's just me in the room. All the little specters and ghosts and whatnot that were floating around were gone. Now, I know that makes me seem crazy. I understand that. I know that. Happy Halloween, Madix. Thank you. I know that people, your experience with sleep paralysis may be slightly different from mine. I've heard so many different explanations for it, but my experience is what my experience is. There's been times like one night, it was Christmas. My mother told me to go to bed. It was Christmas Day. The next day would have been the 26th. I was in the bed, and this beast with red eyes and like big hair, like spiky, unkempt hair, would come and just start shaking the bed. And then I would wake up and it would run back into the closet. And I'm afraid. And I called my mother, and my mother came and and obviously she didn't take me seriously. She's like, "You want your gun?" And I was like, "Yeah, give me my gun." She gave me my toy gun. What's this toy gun gonna do? But to a kid, that's empowering. I got my toy gun. This thing come out of the closet again. I'm blah blah blah. I'm gonna blast on it. And again, I go to sleep, and this thing comes out of the closet, and shakes the bed. And my mother comes back in, and I tell her, I'm like, look, this thing is in the closet. She doesn't believe me. She checks the closet, ain't nothing in there. Just it's all right, just go ahead, go to bed, and go to sleep. And I don't remember what happened or how we dealt with it, but I went to sleep and it didn't happen again. But I definitely remember that. And a friend of mine, he's passed on now. He told me he had a similar experience. As soon as he starts trying to go to sleep, something would come out and just start rattling and shaking the bed. And I remember that. You know what? Just YouTube? That's a great question. Maybe there is some psychological meaning behind it that I haven't figured out yet. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, I was a kid. I don't think I was even, I couldn't have been older than 12. I may have been 11 or 10, something like that. But that's what happened. I don't know what could be in my mind that this entity would have to sort through my files for. I don't know. It's just weird. Random Loose Brains, hello. Glad to see you too. I'm doing good. It's Halloween and I'm inside my home. I'm nice and safe. I didn't go out looking for candy. um, I do. I drive shuttle in Seattle now. I don't do security anymore. So my route usually ends at 8 p.m. So I'm out at night. And Friday, I saw some interesting Halloween costumes. Some of them slutty. It is what it is. It is what it is. But the one that really impressed me the most was the Squid Game costumes. I saw an executive walking out of one of the labs right there on what is that? Just off of Republican and I can't remember the name of the street, but he was walking out of the lab and he had his he was 001. And I was like, ah, there he is, there he is. That's the guy. Um, but yeah, it was fun. Um, but back to my paranormal experiences. There's a lot of things that I've experienced that I know I saw, but I can't really explain, and I didn't really talk to a whole lot of people about them. I can talk about it now because I'm doing this paranormal thing on my channel, and I have a podcast where I talk about paranormal stuff, which I really need to get back onto because I've gotten away from it because life is complicated. But um, I remember seeing suited men floating in my grandmother's hallway. Suited men, they had on suits, and I remember one guy he floated straight up, and I remember um, um, walking down the hallway because I wanted to see what was going on. What is this? And I'm watching these guys. They just floating through the walls. And of course, you tell your grandma about it, and she's like, "Okay, baby." Grandma don't believe you. Tell mom about it. Okay, baby. Mom don't believe you. Um, Perhaps the first scary experience that I had as a kid with the paranormal um, was the laughter. Being in my grandparents' bedroom and bathroom because they were in the master bedroom of the house, and hearing that disembodied laughter behind me. That was scary, but nothing was scarier than the shadow person. I remember I was doing something. I was banging on something. I was banging some old pots and stuff that were no longer in use by my grandma. She got new pots and whatnot, and I was just a little kid. Just a bad little kid. I'm banging on these pots, and I believe my mom told me to stop that. or I'm gonna um, get the attention of something I don't want to get the attention of. And of course, just like all kids do, we listen very well, and then we do what we want to do. I kept banging on the pots, and I remember seeing this shadow inside my grandmother's house, in the den, in the window of the den, and he was kind of looking at me. And I remember looking at him and thinking, "What is that? Who is that?" And trying to figure out, because I know how my uncle looks, and he couldn't have been my uncle because my uncle was at work. And so I'm looking at this thing, and then I approach it, and it got angry, and I think it growled or something like that, and it ran, it moved like it was gonna come outside and get me. And I remember screaming and crying, and then my mother came running, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And I told her what happened and what I saw. And her response was, "I told you not to bang those pots together." And it's like, I think you're missing the point, Mom. Something that should not have happened just happened. What was that? Her response was the equivalent of, "Well, if you would eat your vegetables, this wouldn't have happened." People need to start paying attention to their kids. Sure, you may not understand everything that's going on, and sure, it's easy to dismiss them because we're so engaged with life. But kids, kids, and I believe that kids have a connectedness to this world that we as adults don't necessarily have. I want to say the older we get, the less um, the less tangible that that spiritual veil is. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I can't articulate it. It's like when we're young and our minds aren't developed on the levels that adults' minds are developed. It's like we have a connection to the spiritual world that adults don't have. And the older we get, the less tangible that world becomes. Um, it's kind of the theme. You've seen the theme play out. Like, you watch a Christmas movie, and Santa Claus is talking to the kid, and the kid's like, "Well, how come my parents don't believe?" And Santa explains, "Well, they're adults. Adults. The older they get, they forget. They don't believe anymore." In fact, that theme was most recently used in Mary Poppins, the new Mary Poppins, with oh my goodness, what's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I want to say Jim Halpert's wife, but it's not Jim Halpert's wife, and his name isn't really Jim Halpert. Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt played the role of Mary Poppins, and she was talking to the balloon lady, which is this old girl from the old school Disney movies. What's her name? I know her name from Murder She Wrote. Well, they had a discussion about, well, people grow up and they forget, the things that fascinate them in their youth. Well, it's the same way I believe with people and adults and with kids. I believe we get to the place where life, that veil gets thicker and harder to pierce, unless we do things to pierce it, which I wouldn't recommend personally. Um, because it gets, I mean, because you never know. I mean, like playing with the Ouija board would be a way of piercing or connecting to what's there. but you don't know what you're talking to. You don't know what you're going to get because these entities that people connect to can be deceptive and a lot of times are deceptive. And I personally would not mess with that. No. I read about it. I read this. I wouldn't mess with it. But what else? There was another paranormal experience that I had. Um, I wonder. I wonder. Now, just thinking about just YouTube's comment right here about, oh wow, wonder if the woman going through files has some psychological meaning behind it. Um, I wonder if the things we go through in our lives affect us on the psychological level to the point that things like that would play out. Um, that it might trigger um, paranormal activities. For instance, when I was 5 years old, again, I was playing in my grandmother's. I don't know. I just found her bedroom so fascinating. Um, I remember there were the people next door to us, and I heard them talking and yelling. I heard some yelling, and so I couldn't see out the window very well. So I went to the wall and I turned off the lights, and I got on my hands and knees and I looked out the window and I just watched. And I remember seeing a man with his hands up, backing up into the shadows, and another man had his hand leveled towards him. And I immediately made the connection that this guy has a gun. And he was asking the guy some questions, and the guy was answering him, and it was getting all vehement. And then the next thing I know, I see flash, 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 because it's dark. It's nighttime when this happened, and I saw those flashes, and I didn't understand what was going on then. But the next thing I know, there's a man laying on the ground. He's not moving. And there's another man standing above him. Now, mind you, this isn't a paranormal thing. This is a murder that I literally witnessed when I was a kid. Um, I remember the neighbor owned the house. Him, I remember and I know. And when he came, and I remember him snatching the gun out of the guy's hand and running back inside. And then the guy who committed the murder ran inside. And then another guy came outside. This guy was a smaller, younger guy. He came outside and he looked at the guy. And then he ran back inside. And then two people run outside. The younger guy and the other guy came out. And they picked up the guy and they carried him out into the darkness, into the backyards. Because the way our house was set up, my grandma's house was right here. The other guy's house was right here. And our backyard, behind our house, behind our far backyard, was nothing but woods and farmland. And I think they buried that guy back there, or they fed him to the neighbor's pigs. I don't know which. All I know is all the people that know about the situation are dead. All the people that I know about the situation are dead, with the exception of myself. My grandmother knew a little bit about it. My mom knew a little bit about it because we watched it. Watched some of it take place. I actually watched the shooting, but um, I wonder if me having witnessed that, if it had some psychological effect on my mentality, on my mindset, and I wonder how that would play out into. I wonder how it connects between um, life and the things that I perceive. Back in the 80s, before Wi-Fi was a thing, um, I remember my mom directed my attention to the thing that was floating above us. And I remember looking up and I saw against the sky a triangular shaped thing that looked so close to us, like I could pick up a rock and throw it up there and hit it. And I remember seeing the flashing red light. It looked triangular, and it didn't flash like a normal red light. It just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of got dim slowly, and then got bright again, and then got dim slowly, and got bright again, and then got dim slowly, and then got bright again. And it was the weirdest thing because I could not hear it. We could not hear its engines. And it was just up there. And I remember trying to throw a rock at it, and my mom stopped me because, like a little kid, I don't understand what's going on in this world. I don't know how this thing might have shots with a death ray or something. I don't know. But I remember we looked at it and I just stood there and looked at it for a long time, wondering, wow, what is that? You know, and is it something I can get in and fly away? Oh, hello, Saturn's rings. I did have a happy Halloween. Sorry, let me turn my volume up. So what I did was I turned my gain down because my roommates in the other room, they're having a little get together, and um, I do want you guys to be able to hear me. But I don't want to turn my gain up too high because you guys will be able to hear the hearty laughter. Let me, yeah, my gain is up pretty high now. I hope that you guys can hear me. But thank you for that Saturn Strings. I appreciate it. I hope you guys are all having a good Halloween too. Um, I don't know if you guys went to any parties or got to dress up as anything. My cousin dressed up as Marlon Wayans and Don't Drink Your Juice in the Hood, whatever the name of that movie was. Um, but anyway, I remember seeing that thing and I forgot about it. Just like with the so like when I witnessed the murder, I forgot about that. I totally and completely forgot about that. And when I was about 35 years old, I was at work. I was living in Mississippi at the time, and I was working on an assembly line. We were fixing engines, and I stopped and I witnessed the murder. And I asked a friend of mine who was in law enforcement what I should do about that because I definitely saw this guy get murdered. Um, he told me I can contact the police department and I can talk to them about it and maybe add some more information. I love you too, Santa's Ring. You have a good night. Um, he said I could talk to them about it, but I didn't because number one, that neighbor who helped hide the body, and I remember him talking to the police, and I think they covered it up, but that neighbor passed away. My grandmother passed away. My mom passed away. Um, to my knowledge, I'm the only one that knows about this. I don't know what kind of. I don't know how. I don't know if this is a cold case for them. You know, I don't. I don't know. But I never said anything about it because I didn't want to upset people. And when I had the opportunity to talk to one of my neighbors about it. It was during the time the young man and his wife that were there, listening as we talked, and because I grew up in the neighborhood, but these guys, the young man and his wife, that was the neighbor's son and his wife, and so I figured now would probably be a bad time to bring that up. So I didn't say anything because I don't. I mean, they just put his dad in the ground, and I just don't want to be disrespectful. Not at all. I would not do that. That's a huge no in my book. But it's just a lot of things have happened. Things that I can't readily explain, and things that I wouldn't try to explain because I don't know that it would go over well. All I can do is educate myself and try to learn more about it so that I can understand it more. I definitely need to learn how to better articulate my experiences. Maybe get some stuff written down. It's one thing to vlog it, but it's another thing to write it down and have it down so that when I articulate it again, I can know what I'm talking about. I can have a solid basis for where I'm coming from because people tend to look at you like you're crazy. Yeah, like okay. Um, I had some experience. Okay, so some of my adult experiences. Um, I worked at a hotel for 5 years when I lived in Mississippi, and during that time, um, I remember I stopped by the hotel one night, and I was talking to the front desk clerk, and there was another employee there, and we were talking. And while we were talking, I kept hearing this activity in the kitchen. I heard the sounds of dishes being put away, like things are being cleaned up. And I'm talking to her. I open the door, I go inside, and the activity stops. I hear nothing. I, I feel for the light switch on the wall, and I flip it. For some reason, I wasn't afraid of what I was going to see, but I flipped the switch, and the kitchen is clean. The is clean. The dishes are all put away. And I'm like, okay. So I walked out, I left the lights on, I closed the door, and I went to the front desk and I'm rubbing my chin and I told the girl at the front desk, I'm like, hey look, do you know what just happened? And immediately she was like, nope, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I gotta go home and I gotta go to sleep and I want to be able to sleep without fear. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. This side note, this is the same girl. She's a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to her in quite some time. I need to call her up one of these days. But I, she was telling me about her experiences with the movie Paranormal Activity, and I was and this was what 2012, 2011, 2012. The way she talked had me convinced that Paranormal Activity was found footage of a real event that happened. And so I watched Paranormal Activity. In fact, I was working as a security guard as well. And so at my post, I'm the only one there. I'm sitting in a 8x8 box and I'm I'm watching Paranormal Activity on my laptop in the dark. And I'm freaked out. It's the movie was really reading me the riot act. But I had a 357 Magnum on my hip just in case something stupid happened. I locked the window behind me so that nobody can sneak up behind me and mess with me. And a partway through the movie, I stopped, and I looked, and there was a man. and I just had to Google to see what was going on. And I hit Google up, and turns out these people on Jay Leno being interviewed, and I'm like, they're not dead. She said this is found footage. Turns out found footage is just a name for that particular style of filming. It was not. It was not actually found footage. Micah and his girlfriend may have died in the movie, but the actor and the actress that played them are very much alive. But but yeah, I remember that that noise just stopped. Um, when I was in seminary school, so I'm kind of debating about whether I should even say this, but um, from what I've heard, in Graham, Washington, there's a Church of Satan, and Graham, Washington is it can be a freaky place. Um, I lived there for a few years, and then I moved away. But I've never seen the Church of Satan. There's a lot of other churches there that I have seen, but I've never seen the Church of Satan. But I do remember different things that would happen. Like for instance, um, everybody seems well. I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people that I know of from there have reported that their stuff was broken into. Somebody was breaking into their stuff, either their shed or their car or something. Um, Luckily, my car never got broken into. Um, I remember I would try to, I would be asleep at night, and the sounds of dogs outside barking doesn't bother me. Um, I'm, you know, at heart, I'm a country boy. I may work and live in the big city, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be in a rural area in a house with quiet neighbors, comfortably positioned in my house, in my home. Um, but um, to hear sirens blaring outside, that doesn't bother me. It's my attention that makes me wonder what's going on, but it doesn't bother me. To hear the sounds of animals and dogs and whatnot, and barking and cats whining and crying all night, that doesn't bother me. Because I grew up in the country. This it was a part of life. Um, but in Graham, Washington, and I don't know if it still happens, but when I was there, when I lived there, be asleep at night, and then you wake up, just for whatever reason, and you'd hear these dogs just howling, and it seemed like all the dogs in the neighborhood were howling in unison. Now, maybe some of you can tell me, thanks, Cab. Um, Thanks for popping in. Appreciate you. Um, Maybe some of you can tell me, have you ever experienced that where dogs howl in unison, where it syncs up, and it's almost like there's some doggy choir director out there, and he has all the dogs on key. And now we know wolves bay at the moon. We know dogs even may even do the same. But this was it was just super. I'm sorry. It was just super odd, and it would happen so many times, and it didn't bother me, but it did freak me out. And sometimes I would be asleep or I would wake up and they wouldn't be howling, but they would be barking in unison. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. Don't get ahead of me. I'm talking about dogs barking in unison. It's absolutely off putting. Like, I'm talking, I'm going to try to explain to help you understand. I'm talking about roof, 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 roof. Not one dog, not two dogs, but several dogs barking in unison. Like they got doggy sheet music in front of them and they are hitting them notes. All right. Columbia Records needs to come and give these dogs a record deal because they are hitting them notes tonight. It's so incredibly off putting. Didn't bother me. That kind of bothered me. It's like, what is this? What's going on? I've talked to other people from Graham or who have lived in Graham. Oh yeah, yeah. They had a lot of stuff to discuss. They were getting all the numbers down. All in favor say roof. The roofs have it. Motion is passed. Next order of business. But I remember I lost my train of thought. That was funny, Cab. Lost my train of thought. Uh, mm, so dogs barking. Also, people I've met. So for a little while, what between 2004 2006, I delivered newspapers, thinking I could make some extra money delivering newspapers. I didn't make extra money. I just displaced the money. I just displaced. I could have just kept working my job and everything would have been fine. I didn't need to do the newspaper. All I ended up doing was putting miles on my car, wear and tear on my car, and being extra tired all day because I'm getting up in the middle of the night to do newspapers. Never do that again. Most fun job I've ever had. Never do it again because it doesn't pay well. Um, but anyway, when I did newspapers, why am I telling you guys? I have a point for this story. Oh, I met a lady. She had a route too. She was a different lady. She was. Uh, I think she may have been a goth that became an adult, and before she know it, she was a mother. So now she has a family, but she's still a goth. She's still a goth chick. she's she's pretty cool. Uh, but she she has the funniest stories. But she was like, I was like, so where do you deliver? And she goes, Graham. And I was like, yeah, Graham's a weird place. And then she goes, yeah, it is weird. She was like, one night I'm delivering newspapers. She says, all of my customers tell me that they have been broken, had their sheds broken into. She said, I was delivering my newspapers. I'm driving and I look up and there's a guy riding a bicycle, no reflectors on the bicycle. He's just all in black. Over his face, a ski mask. What do you think he was up to? And I'm like, I don't know what he's up to. I don't want to know what he's up to. I don't want to meet people like that. When I lived out in Graham, I didn't really go out at night. Not not unless I really had to. But it wasn't someplace I just hang out at night. Come think of it. Now that I live where I live now, I don't really go out at night. I've been out at night in Seattle, but even then, I'm either leaving from work or going to work. I don't really hang out in Seattle at night. Not if I don't have to. Okay, I take that back. Uh, Years ago, I dated an actress in Seattle. I can't remember. Oh, yeah. So if I'm out at night, it's because I'm working. I did club security for a while. Um, I'd like to think that I was a big bad bouncer, but um, nothing never really happened, and most people don't really want to get me upset anyway. But for the most part, no, I don't really hang out at night. I don't. Even when I did club security, I did my job. I did my 5 hours. I got paid. I got in my car and I went home. I don't hang out at night. Uh, when I was a kid, I used to think there was things to do out at night, but I don't. Now that I'm an older adult, I'm 45, almost 50. I'm almost halfway there. I don't hang out at night. There's nothing to do after 10 p.m. outside at night. If I go out at night now, I'm going to get food and then I'm coming back, or I'm going to work and then I'm coming back, or I'm going to church and then I'm coming back. I don't really go. But back to the paranormal stuff. I'm telling you guys way too much of my life. But that lady, um, she 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 told me some stories, but she was like, "Yeah, that was pretty freaky. That was a pretty freaky situation." I'm glad that guy didn't harm her. Um, I met another guy. I don't remember the guy's name. I only met him in passing briefly. Um, I was talking to him and I was inviting him to come to my church. And he asked where the church was. And I told him it's in Graham. And he looked at us with this haunted look, this absolutely just haunted look. And he was like, Graham. And he looks down and he goes, I don't have anything to do in Graham. And when he said that, he didn't want to talk to us anymore. He closed his door. He disappeared inside, closed his door, he disappeared, just walked away. I don't know what he experienced there, but he was like, I have no dealings with that place. And he's not the only person I've met like that. Oh my goodness, guys, there's so many freaky people that I've met in my life that was like on some other level. And I'm not talking about normal people that you meet. I'm talking about people I've worked with thugs, gangbangers, rockers, musicians, um, actors, comedians. Um, I've worked with a wide variety, but people who dabble in the occult, that stuff puts you on a different level. And if you don't know how to handle it, and you can't, it just I'm not gonna even discuss it anymore because I don't want to offend people. But you got to be careful. I personally don't believe the occult is something to play with because you think you're playing with it. Nah, it's playing with you. But what I'm gonna do is, um, so suffice it to say, that long hour-long resume of the paranormal things I've experienced in my life and the weird people that I've met, um, all of that was I've said all that to say this. When I dealt with paranormal stuff, now that I'm thinking about it, sometimes stuff goes missing. You know, you put your keys right here, and you come back. Why aren't my keys there? I know I put them there. why are my keys in the kitchen? And thinking about a coworker that I had that liked to explain everything away. Okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, maybe I took my keys to the kitchen and forgot. Let's say that was the case. But sometimes that isn't always the case. But anyway, this next story is from The Truth Is There. The Truth Is Here subreddit. And the author is Radiation 111. If you want to look it up in Reddit, Radiation 111. That's his name. So this was in the year 2015 or 2016. It was a Saturday night around 11:40 p.m. and my dad and I had just finished working on the family car, so things would go smoothly Monday. Did a double check and everything was fine and running great. I go outside just to see the night sky and admire the moon because why not? I lean on the car and look straight up. At first, I saw something strange, a creature that is high in the sky. I can tell since it's around the distance I see airplanes fly at. It was very high up, and it looked like a giant manta ray slowly flapping its wings, like it was in water, gracefully, I might add. Then I realized there's a large group of them from behind, about 20 of them. I quickly called my dad, my mom, and my sister and told them to look in the sky, and they were just telling me I'm crazy or just playing around. To their surprise, they all saw the creature that looked like a manta ray in the night sky. We were staring at them for a good 3 minutes until they just flew higher and just disappeared in the dark night sky. It was strange. It was a strange experience we shared as a family, but excited since this was our second. We talked about it at dinner, and we were just saying that there really is a lot of mysterious things out there in the world. Apparently, these creatures are called cryptids. I just wanted to share what I and my family experienced. Wow, that was nice. Oh my goodness, this is a long one. But Radiation 111 just reminded me, teenager this time. A teenager, all right? So my mind is more developed. Um, um, as developed as a teenage boy's mind could be developed. I was what, I want to say 15, 16, maybe even 17 years old. It was Halloween night, as a matter of fact. Yes, another Halloween night. And I was with some friends, and we didn't go trick or treating, but we went, we went out, teenage boys, you're gonna go out. We didn't went bag snatching. We don't, do that to harm kids. We're not gonna go out and do that. But we went out, had some fun, and I knew how far I was willing to go. I knew my mom didn't want me to go too far, so they wanted to go further. I let them go, and I just went home. So I walked home alone, and it was a chilly night. I can't remember if I had on a jacket or not, but it was pretty chilly that night. One of two funeral homes, or is it three funeral? One of three funeral homes in my hometown in South Carolina. And I was walking, and remember, it was a cool, clear night. The stars were bright in the sky, and because it's South Carolina, there isn't a whole lot of outside ambient light, so you could almost see the Milky Way. So I'm walking, and I pass by the the funeral home. I believe there was a name on the board for someone who was about to have a funeral. And beside the funeral home, there's a little house, and there's a big oak tree right there by the a, I want to say a bird flew over, but something flew out of the tree. And whatever it was big. You understand what I'm saying? This thing that flew out of the tree was big because it had the ability to shake the whole tree. There, like I said, there was zero wind, no wind, but this tree was moving like the wind was disturbing it. And I looked up to see what it was that could be disturbing this tree, and I didn't see anything. Now, the biggest bird in South Carolina is the condor. At one point, the condor was going extinct, but I believe they were able to keep it from going extinct. Um, but I don't think it was a condor because I didn't see anything. And yes, it was night, but it wasn't so far dark that I wouldn't have been able to see something that big flying away. And when I got away from the tree, mind you, the tree is shaking like the wind is blowing. There is no movement of air. There was no breeze. I just walked away and I'm looking up at the tree and I'm looking up at the sky. And then I looked towards my house and I took off running because I wasn't going to wait to see what was that. I had to get out of there because my mind wasn't figuring out, understanding what was going on. And so I made it home. I got in my house. That reminds me of another time I had to run home. I was chilling with my friend. We were at his house. We were playing Nintendo. Um, he had he had just got Friday the 13th video game for the NES, and the game, even on the NES, it was scary because Jason would come up and he would kill you, and you'd be like, ah. Um, well, I overstayed my welcome. Not my welcome with the family. They were fine that I was there, but I noticed it was getting dark. But I wanted to stay and see some more of this game. It's dark, and I had been telling my friend I gotta go, and I can't remember he wanted to let me go or not, but I was like, all right, I gotta go. Like I could have gone to go home from Ronnie's house. If I went this way, it's a longer way, it's a better lit way, but I would have to deal with dogs. And at that time, I had a pretty good fear of dogs. Dogs don't scare me now. A friend of mine taught me how not to be scared of them. I'm not scared of them anymore. But before, dogs frightened me. Um, if I went this way, I had to deal with the darkness. So I decided to go this way because even though I had to deal with the darkness, it's quicker. So I walked to the end of the block, then I turned left, and I'm standing here. To my right, there is an abandoned white house that I thought was haunted, but I have no evidence that the house was haunted. Um, there is a sodium light right there, shining bright, and before me was what is known as the pecan orchard. And pecan orchard was a stretch of road that was flanked by a bunch of pecan trees, and you could go there and pick up pecans, and they're free to the community. No one's gonna stop you. Um, on a moonlit night, the moon lights up the landscape, except the pecan orchard. The pecan orchard is super dark because of the trees and the shadows. This was not a moonlit night. And I had to walk through this thick darkness to get home. I had no flashlight. There were no cell phones, not the way that we have them now. And I definitely didn't have the money to have one back then. What was this? I want to say it was 1992, 1992, maybe 93, 92. So I took a deep breath and I started walking through the pecan orchard. And I took a couple of steps, and that sodium light shut completely off, throwing me into complete darkness. And I stopped and I backed up. I'm like, back up, back up, back up. What's going on? The sodium light slowly began to come back on. And I'm like, what? To my knowledge, I don't know that there was a problem with the sodium light. It didn't do that before I got it. But anyway, I start walking again, and the sodium light shuts off again. And I turn around, I looked at this light, I glared at it like that was gonna do anything. And it slowly came back on, and I turned around, I took a deep breath, I manned up, and I started walking. And so I'm walking, putting my hand in front of my face. I can't even see my hand. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. That's how dark the pecan orchard was that night. Hey Adele, nice to see you. Um, Adele, I try to catch your lives, but I don't get to catch them all the time. For whatever reason, I used to catch them before, but I don't get to catch them. I think I got Instagram set so that as soon as you pop on and you do a live, I can see it. But also, I drive now, so when I'm driving, I can't. I drive professionally, so I can't touch my phone. That get me fired. But yeah, I like your lives. I like your talks. But anyway, also I thought up a great story, and I'm gonna write it out. But it reminds me, I'm basing the character around you to whatever degree. But I guess I could discuss that with you later. Anyway, um, so I'm walking through this pecan orchard, and I'm kind of gingerly walking along, looking from side to side because I'm like, what is out here? And as I'm walking, I hear a sound that I never heard before. And so I stop and I'm looking and I'm blinking, trying to get my eyes to adjust to the light. I can't yet see the light from my apartment complex, which is on the other end of the block. And the sodium light behind me was zero help at this point. And so I heard the crunching of leaves and the breaking of sticks, like something heavy was walking. So I just ignore it and I keep walking. And then I hear the noise again, and this time I just stop and I'm standing there as still as a statue. And I'm trying to get my eyes to adjust. And I'm looking, and then it's across the road, and I'm just standing there looking at this thing. And I watched it just lumber across the road into the other side of the woods. And when it disappeared into the woods, I realized that I wasn't even breathing. So I caught my breath and I said, what was that? What was that? And so I started walking again. And when I got to the place to where it crossed, I heard it grunt or whatever. After I heard that, I didn't need to hear anything else. I took off running. I was gone. I ran into the apartment complex. I ran through that first building. I ran across the parking lot. I ran to my house hurriedly, put my key in the door, go inside, close the door, lock the door, go into my bedroom, close the door. And I'm sitting there in the corner of my bed, breathing hard. And I look at the window and I realize if that thing was chasing me and it decided to jump through my window, I'm done. My window is not going to stop this thing. And I thought about it over the years. And I don't believe it was anything paranormal. I don't believe it was a skinwalker or anything like that. I believe what I encountered that night in the pecan orchard was a bear. And for some reason, that bear did not attack me. By the grace and mercy of God, it did not. It did there and watched it walk across the road. And then I took off. I wasn't waiting to see if this was really a bear. Um, I kind of wish I had a flashlight so that I could see, hey, there's a bear. If I had a cell phone the way that we have cell phones, I could call the cops and be like, hey, look, there's a bear out here. Somebody needs to come down here and do something about this bear. But yeah, it that was a crazy night, and I told my friends about it. I don't think they, I don't know. You know, I've had so many discussions with my friends. I don't think they really believe me. Um, but it just is what it is. But I have one more story that I want to read. It is a long one. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this one. And this one is called My Night at the Driscoll Hotel in Austin, Texas. And this is submitted a day ago by Lava by I don't know how to pronounce their username. LAA. You know what? I'm gonna drop these links. I'm gonna I'm gonna drop these links so you guys can go and check out these stories for yourselves. I don't know if you guys can copy that, but let me see. Where's the other one? There's this one. And then there's one more. Copy. The week slowly crawled by, but we finally found ourselves on the road headed down I 10. And once we hit Interstate 71, I knew we were headed to Austin. Once we made it to the city and we turned into Brazos Street, the rest was history. We had officially arrived to the infamous Driscoll Hotel. We entered into the grand lobby, and there Colonel Jesse Driscoll stood in darkness, contained within an ornate golden frame. As we carried our suitcases past the lonely man, I could see the sadness in his eyes. We took the lift up to the eighth floor to find our room. The hallways were thoroughly decorated in stunning artwork every 3 feet or so from each other, and it was clear that the design throughout the structure would have delighted most, if not all, their political and solitaire, whom we may have whom may have resided in Austin, Texas, as a butcher prior to moving to Europe. Just when I told it, just when I thought I could not wait any longer, we turned the corner, and there the Driscoll sat, waiting for her story to be told. Having done research on the hotel prior to staying, I was expecting the guy to bring up the death of Samantha Houston and the creepy painting of her that is located in the building. However, I apparently hadn't done enough research because there was not one, but two additional stories that I found particularly sinister that I had not heard about prior. The suicide brides, he began. Long story short, it is believed that two young women who were in a hotel for their honeymoons had both committed suicide by gruesomely shooting themselves in the stomach and bleeding out in the bathtub. The craziest part is that they both had stayed in room 525 and have both taken their lives in the same bathtub, exactly 20 years apart. I have a habit of getting really excited to stay at haunted hotels, and then after taking the ghost tour, I get pretty freaked out. It wouldn't stop me from staying the night, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't ready for a drink or six as a precaution to sleep peacefully through the night. We headed to the Driscoll bar and enjoyed the busy atmosphere, discussing all the new things we just learned. After I finally felt all warm and fuzzy, it was time to go find the famous painting of Samantha Houston on the fifth floor. The floor level we were staying on was straight hallway and nothing more. When we exited the elevator into the fifth and saw the straight hall in front of us, I filmed from afar and slowly walked up to the painting. We took a few photos. I've attached one to this post. Then headed up to the room, completely forgetting about room 525, which I'm acting with him or not, because my attention was on the other side of the room. From the corner I was standing in, I had a clear shot of the entrance into the powder room and bathroom, where I saw a woman dressed in housekeeper clothes. I have attached a photo that I've found online that looked like the outfit she was wearing. I could tell in that moment that her outfit was not from our time. She crossed the door frame from me. She crossed the door frame from the powder room with the vacuum and went into the bathroom where I could no longer see her. She then took a step backwards back into the door frame, as if she had perhaps seen something that caught her attention, and looked right at me. She had dark hair that was pulled back, and she stood there in silence. She was clearly there right in front of my eyes, but she had this washed out presence about her. She was not bright, just illuminating some form of dim bluish low light that looked like she was fading. The exchange of looks had me feeling as though I was the one who was watching her, and she then carried on with her duties out of my sight. Finally, it was daylight the next time I woke up. Despite feeling as though I was hit by a bus and got absolutely no rest, I had never been so excited for morning. And the first thing I did was turn over to my husband, exhausted. I started by explaining the weird fly that woke me up, and then proceeded to ask him if he remembered me waking up crying. He said that he was 100% sure that he had not been woken up, nor did he hear me crying or screaming. After this, I realized maybe I could have been dreaming when I thought I was awake. I tell people is that I I appreciate the paranormal. Um, I will read the stories. I will talk about it, but I'm not gonna go and stay in a haunted place. Not on purpose. I'm not doing that. I don't. I, I I stayed at my grandmother's house for 10 years, for 13 years, and then we moved, and I just no. Even my grandmother's house, I can't be there by myself. I'm a full grown adult man. I can't be in my grandmother's house by myself. It's too creepy. Too scary. I've had too many experiences there that can't be explained. Um, but I just dropped the link to my podcast. I call the podcast the Paranormal Observer because I only want to observe these stories. I'm the take the Lego pieces apart and show you how it works, put it back together, and show you the finished product. I'm not gonna go to the Lego factory with a with a with a camcorder and my little recording my EVP devices trying to pick up the sounds of the Legos. No, I'm not doing that. One man told me I should do that, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe one day I might do that, but that day is not today, and it's probably not gonna be tomorrow. It just, I'm just, I'm just, no, I'm not into tempting fate, and I'm not into tempting spirits. I don't need to see my keys move across the table and not be able to explain it. No, I'm good. I am good. But I respect it. Um, just like a firearm. You lose respect for it, it's gonna lose respect for you. It already doesn't have respect for you. So you have to respect it. Um, it's just like anything. Just like people. You know, you meet people, you get to know them. Um, um, you respect them, they'll respect you. You disrespect them, they're going to disrespect you right back. I would say the same for the paranormal. Whatever or whoever these beings are, they deserve a modicum of respect. Um, and I will gladly give them that respect. I will gladly give them their space. I don't want them messing with me. I don't want them attaching themselves to me. I do not want them attaching themselves to those that I love and care about because these spiritual entities is if what I'm to understand about these spiritual entities is true, then they are not people we really want to mess with. Many people believe that they can go to someone and have them conjure up a long dead relative and they can conversate with that relative. I don't believe that who and what they're talking to is their long dead relative. And this is just my personal beliefs. Your beliefs may be different, but mine are. He began to lure me into the deeper end of the pool, knowing that I couldn't swim. And when I got down there, he proceeded to try to drown me. And luckily, I had my wits about me and I fought this fool off. But that guy, I never trusted him again. This guy was pretending to be my friend just so that he could kill me. And if I didn't fight him, he was absolutely going to drown me. And if if I see him, is for joining me on this Halloween night. Like, subscribe, and as the holidays progress and we get to Thanksgiving and we get to Christmas, I hope that you guys will have a happy Christmas as well. Um, just stay